And so I had to like restart the little network routing box, and 2 hours, 2 hours to sign a PDF so that I could email it out. So the interesting thing to me about the internet bandwidth that we have available to us is our needs will always exceed it.
Yes.
Like you can never have so much bandwidth that you can do whatever you want because you are constantly running into roadblocks. You are constantly running up against this limiter.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's like your spending habits. Your spending habits naturally, the more you make, the more you will spend
Those backs.
consistently. Like you,
Hmm.
you are never going to live like you did when you were making 25-year-old money when you're making
Hmm.
45-year-old money. Like you just won't. And so there's no, I don't know. There's no easy answer to the slow internet, the slow programs that we have. Like we're all on this system where it's
Hmm.
network based rather than like actual physical computer based, and that presents a lot of challenges at the end user level. I'm
Right.
sure,
Right.
from an enterprise level, it's phenomenal, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we saved so much money," and I don't doubt that it was a good idea for somebody at some point, and they got promoted, and they did a lot of good with it. But the
Right.
the cost of the user experience has been pretty. It took me 2 hours to get from where I was working on an end of tour medal on Nipper to, like, I got kicked off, and then I couldn't log back in, and then I kept not being able to log back in because there was broker client issue hand exchange.
uh,
And so I had to like restart the little network routing box, and 2 hours, 2 hours to sign a PDF so that I could email it out.
and the problem is, it's not like it's well, it's interesting. I'm going to use this parallel that you brought up, right, about spending habits,
Mm.
because this is good. This is good because it's like, well, why do we have such things? Compared to what I could when I go back to my hooch, I am I feel sometimes that I have a more powerful apparatus at my disposal, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it has to do with kind of very much what you talked about what do you what is your think, and your think keeps driving the same behavior, but the environment changes, but it doesn't change your behavior, right? So like the you know Air Force, military, whatever, right? They go, well, lowest bidder, this is the think, right? Like taxpayer money, we got to make sure that we're not extravagant. We have all these rules, and so they bid, right? They have this bidding process, acquisitions, to think, right? To be in line with this idea that it's not about how great a machine is, it's about how much money do we save, but yet we got to spend it all. Countering that, right? We got to spend it all,
Hmm.
but we got to save money while we do it. That type of thing. It's like, okay, all right, that's yay. And then, like when regular people have their own personal budget, like at the 24-hour-old study, how they think about spending money when they're only making 35 grand a year. They think, oh, I always save 10%. I always, meal prep, eat my own food, right? I don't ever eat out. If I do, that's like a holiday because I like making my own food. I You know what I mean? Like the think is there. And so when they make 55, 100K, 200K a year, the think is the same, right? Throughout the whole thing, like I said. But if the person's think is, oh well, I am always living paycheck to paycheck.
You will never not be living paycheck to
Yeah, you will
paycheck.
never not be living paycheck to paycheck. Because the problem isn't the money. The problem is the thing. It's the internal policies that are bounding your behavior, just like, big organizations like the DoD, they're the think is like 1980s. It just is. It's the 1980s. And there are some very good people out there who've been trying to poke holes in that, right? And poke holes out of that to try to agile acquisitions and all
Mhm.
these things, but they're in like the 1% range.